Okay, we're on Chapter 3, Basic Rhythms. Alright, so we're going to review rhythmic notation. We're going to draw some bar lines to learn about measures. We're going to write time signatures, clap rhythms with 16th notes, count the beats and phrases with dotted notes, and count the beats and phrases with rests. So one at a time, we're going to figure out what a beat is. So a beat is a steady pulse in music. That's it. Just 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a steady pulse. That's a beat. Alright, so we are going to now draw lines to match the items in column 1 with items in column 2, and then match column 2 with column 3. So there's 1, 2, and 3. This first note, I'm going to go and zoom in a bit. That, if we remember from previously, that is a whole note. So a whole note, we got it here, we got a whole note here. Boom, there it is. Now these ones are 2/8 notes. Remember, they're beamed together. And there it is. Now we have a half note. 2 beats here. Now we have a quarter note. And then finally a single 8th note. Now, we need to figure out how long each of these are. If you remember, a whole note has 4 beats. Now when we get to a half note, we're just cutting it in half. Half of 4 is 2. Now we're going to do that again, cut it in half. Half of 2 with a quarter is 1. Now, here's where it can get a little tricky. We have 1/8 note and 2/8 notes. When we cut a quarter in half, we get 1/8 note. So that's going to be half a beat. But a half plus a half, if we have 2, that's going to be a full beat. So that is that portion there. Now, we're going to draw the note in the box, which makes one side of the equation equal to the other side. So, if we look right here, we have a quarter note. If you remember, a quarter note is 1 beat. A half note, that's 2. Another half note, that's another 2. Quarter note is 1. 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1, that's 6. Now here we have a whole note. Whole note is 4. We need one more note in order to equal 6. So 4 plus what equals 6? 4 plus 2. Which type of note has 2 beats? If we look up here, a half note has 2 beats. So we're going to draw in a half note. Now we have here, we have an 8th note, it's a half beat, another 8th note, it's another half beat, and a quarter note, that's 1. 1 plus a half, that's 2. Then we have a blank here. I'm not sure what we're going to fill in that yet. Now we have a half note here and a half note here. 2 plus 2 is 4. So we have 2 on this side, we have 4 on this side, we need something to equal 2. 2 plus what equals 4? 2 plus 2 equals 4. And then remember, half note has 2 beats. Now let's take a look at down here. We have an 8th note, which is a half, another half, another half, another half, a 4, because it's a whole note. Whole notes have 4 beats. We have a half note that has 2 beats, equals something plus quarter note, which is 1, quarter note, which is 1, and then a half note, which is 2. So let's go ahead and add these up. All this right here is 4 plus what equals 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 beats. So we need something that is 4 beats. What is 4 beats? A whole note. There we go. Next, something's got to equal the whole note. Whole note, remember, is 4 beats. We got a quarter note, which is 1. Half note is 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. We need one more beat, which is a quarter note. And there we go. Now, final one. We have a whole note here and a half note here. That equals 6 total beats. And over here we have a half note, something we don't know, 2 eighth notes, which are each a half of a beat, and then another half note, which is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus half is 5. We need one more beat, which is a quarter note. All right, that is page 18, the first page. Now we're on page 19. At the top, it should say 3.2, draw bar lines to make measures. So here's our staff. The vertical lines on the staff are called bar lines or measure lines, either way. The spaces in between the bar lines, those are each called measures. So here are the bar lines here, boom and boom. And this whole thing right here is the measure. Here's another measure. There we go. And here's another measure. All right. So the first measure in the staff usually doesn't have a bar line, a left bar line. So we don't need a bar line there. Each measure is going to have the same number of beats. And this tells you how many beats they're going to be. We'll talk more about that later. So measures, they're going to show the regular pattern of strong and weak beats in music. Usually the first beat of every measure is going to be strong. Then the double bar line at the end of the staff, that means that's the end of the music. So if you see this, that means stop. Don't go on. That's your brick wall. You cannot pass that. That is, music is done. So we're going to figure out how many measures are in this phrase above. Well, let's take a look. Let's look at the bar lines. So we got one here, the first one. Here's where the bar line stops. We have another one here, another one here, and another one here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 measures in that phrase above. Now, we're going to draw our own bar lines. Figure out how these work. So each measure should have the number of quarter note beats, which are shown in the box on the left. So for example, this right here says we have 2 quarter note beats that are going to be in each measure. So we have 1, there's 2 eighth notes, that equals 1, there's 2 beats, there's another one, there's another 2 beats, half note is 2, half note is 2. So right there, we have our example. Now we're going to go to the next one. First we take a look at this. How many beats are going to be in each measure? 4. So let's start counting. Every 2 eighth notes is going to be 1 beat, just to make life a little easier. So here's 1, here's 2, here's 3 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to stick a measure line right there, or a bar line right there. Now, let's take a look at the next one. We have 1, there's another one, there's another one, and another one. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's our bar line. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's another bar line. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, we're at the end of the music. Now I need to make a double bar line. Usually it's going to be one thin, one thick line. Not the end of the world if you do it like this one here. Okay, next one. How many beats per measure? 3! So let's count 3 beats each time until we hit a bar line. Here's 1, here's 2, There's 3. Oh, there we go. Boom. All right, here's 2. We just need one more beat. Boom, there it is. There's another one. Okay, here's 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3. Boom. Here's another one. Here's 2, and 1. Boom. 1, 1, 1. Boom. 1, 2, 3. Here's another one. And then finally 1, 2, or almost finally, 1, 2, and 3. And then finally 1 and 2. That's equals 3. And there's our double bar line. All right, here's where it gets a little tricky. So we have measures of 5 beats, and yes, those do exist. We're used to just seeing 2, 3, and 4, maybe sometimes 6. 5 is an odd one. You won't see that very often, but it does exist. So let's start counting. Half note is 2 beats. 2/8 notes is 1. Quarter note is 1. So we have 2, 3, 4. We need one more, 5. There we go. Now we need the next 5. So we have 2, 3, 4, and 5. Boom. Next one, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then finally 2, 3, 4, and 5. And there's a double bar line. And last one, we have 3 beats per measure. Same as this one, just lots of 8th notes, it seems. There we go. All right, remember every 8th note is 1 beat. Every 2/8 notes is 1 beat. Here's 1, here's 2, 3. Oh, boom, there it is. And 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. And there we go. That is page 19. All right. Now let's take a look at this page. Page 20. At the top it should say 3.3, write time signatures. Now, each measure is going to have the same amount of beats. And that is told by this thing right here. It's called the time signature. So, the numbers at the beginning of a piece, the 2 4s right here after the clef is called a time signature, tells you how long each measure is. The top number tells you how many counts are in each measure. The bottom number tells you which type of note's going to get the count, going to get the beat. Now, most of the ones we're going to see has a 4 on the bottom, and a 4 will always mean quarter note gets the beat. If there's a 4, quarter note gets the beat, and that's what we're going to worry about right now. We're not going to worry about any other types right now. All of them are going to have 4 on the bottom. So, how many quarter notes long is a measure of 3, 4? So we know the 4 means we're counting the quarter notes. So we need to figure out how many quarter notes. The top note, or the top number, tells you how many. There's a 3 at the top, therefore 3. We have 3 quarter notes long is a measure of 3, 4. Now let's take a look at a measure of 6, 4. Again, 4 is on the bottom, that means a quarter note's being counted. 6 is on the top, that means 6 quarter notes in a measure. Now, we're going to write our own time signatures in these boxes. So we're going to count the length of each measure in terms of quarter notes. Still counting quarter notes. And how many are in each one. So, number 1, or here's example. So 6, 4 is our example. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 6 beats in each measure. Now let's take a look at number 1. Here's 1, 2, remember 2/8 notes is 1 beat, 3, 4. Bar line. Let's start over. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this means we have 4 beats per measure, quarter note still getting the beat. Let's take a look at number 2. We have 1, 2, okay, bar line, 1 and 2, okay, 1, 2, bar line, 1, 2, and double bar line, we're stopping. So we have 2 beats in each measure. So we have 2 up at the top, still 4 on the bottom. 4 is always going to be in the bottom right now. And then finally this one, we have 1 beat, 2 beats, 3 beats, 1 beat, 2, and 3. 3 beats, yay, 3. 3/4 time. All right. Now we are going to draw bar lines according to time signatures and ending with a double bar. So we take a look at this. 3 beats per measure, quarter note gets the beat. Here's 1, here's 2, here's 3. Oh, we got to 3. Boom. Here's 1 and 2. Here's 3. Boom. Here's 1 and 2 and 3. And double bar line. We're done. All right, number 2. 2 beats per measure. All right, here's 1 and 2. Boom. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. And we're done. That's 1 and 2. Double bar line. And last one, we have 4 beats per measure. 1 and 2 is a half note, 2 beats and a half note. 2 eighth notes equals 1 quarter note. Well, that's going to be number 3, beat 3. And another 2 eighth notes equals quarter note, beat 4. There's 4 beats. There's our bar line. Here's a half note gets 2 beats. 2 eighth notes get a beat. And then quarter note gets a beat. And we're done with that page. All right, next is page 21. Clapping rhythms with 16th notes. So we have our whole notes, we have our half notes, we have our quarter notes, and we have our eighth notes, which are also written like this. Now we're going to cut these in half again, and we're going to get to what are called 16th notes. And here is what they look like. You can do it like this, or you can draw them like this, whichever. So there are going to be 2 beams here, or 2 flags. So all of these above here are called 16th notes. 16th notes either have 2 flags or are connected by 2 beams, just like I showed. There are 4 16th notes in a quarter note. So a 1 16th note by itself, I'm going to go and draw it here. Oh, that's awful. Let me try that again. That's going to equal a quarter of a beat, a fourth of a beat. Because you have 4 of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, in 1 quarter note. And there are 16 16th notes in a whole note. Fun fact there. All right, now we're going to clap these rhythms. So we have to fit 2 eighth notes into 1 beat, 1 quarter note beat, and we need to fit 4 16th notes into a quarter note beat. So this first rhythm, number 1, is going to go 1, 2, here I go, 1 and 2E and a 3, and I did that wrong. I went to 3. 1 and 2E and a 1 and 2. The way I like to write it is 1 and 2E and a 1 and 2. That's how we're going to count that. 1 and 2 E and a 1 and 2. All right, now we're at number 2. Now this one is going to be 1 and 2, 3. 1 and 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 3. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to do that again in a nice steady tempo. Here I go. 1 and 2, 3. 1 and 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 3. 1, 2, 3. Just like so. Now we're on number 3. This one has a 16th notes in again, and it has a half note, so we're going to be wary of that. All right. Here we go. This is going to be 1. This is 2, E, and a. 3 and 1, or 4. Next measure, 1, 2, E, and a. 3, 4, or 4 in parentheses, because we have to hold that for full 2 beats. So the way we count this is 1, 2 E and a 3 and 4. 1, 2 E and a 3, or 3, 4 if you want to say the 4 again. Just as long as you hold this note for a full 2 beats. All right, now we're on number 4. Now, even though these eighth notes are not beamed together, they still act just the same as these ones up here. The same exact way as these. So this is going to go 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Same thing with these. These 16th notes are going to be treated the same way as these. 1 E and a 2 and 1 and 2. So this is going to be counted as such. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. 1 E and a 2 and 1 and 2. Pretty simple. Now we're going to number 5. 5/4 measure here. We have half note, which is 2 beats. 1, 2. Then we get 3, 4, 5. Bar line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Here's how that one's going to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's another weird one that you won't see very often, but it does exist. It's actually kind of fun to sing and play music that's in 5/4. Finally, we're on number 6. 3/4 measure. 3 beats per measure. And 1 and 2, 3, E, and a. 1 and 2, 3. 1 and 2, 3. 1 and 2, 3. All right, so this is how this one's going to go. 1 and 2, 3 E and a 1 and 2, 3. 1 and 2, 3. 1 and 2, 3. And there we go. That is that page complete. 2 more pages. We are almost done. Why do I need to name that? I don't need to rename that. Okay. Now we're going to count beats and phrases with dotted notes. Now, you might notice that we've had things that are 4 beats long, we have things that are 2, we have things that are 1 beat, half a beat, a quarter of a beat. However, there are plenty of other numbers that we need to figure out. What if something's 3 beats? What if something's a beat and a half? What if it's 6 beats? How do you figure that out? Well, we have this thing called a dot. And this is what it looks like on a quarter note, this is what it looks like on a half note, and this on a whole note. So, when you add a dot to figure out how long you're going to hold it, you're going to add half its value. So a dot after a note lengthens a note by half the value of the note itself. So the value of the dot depends on the value of the note which precedes it or comes before it. So for example, we have a quarter note with a dot. Quarter note is usually 1 beat. Half of a quarter note is a half a beat. We need to add those two together now. 1 plus a half is 1 1/2. So a dotted quarter note is 1 1/2 beats. Now let's take a look at a half note. Half note with a dot. Half note is normally just 2 beats. Now we're going to add half of that value to the note. So half of 2 is 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. Therefore, half note, or dotted half note, is going to be 3 beats. Now finally we have the dotted whole note. Whole note is usually 4 beats. We got to add half of it. Half of 4 is 2. 4 plus 2 is 6. Whole note, dotted whole note is 6 beats long. All right, we're going to do drawing bar lines again, this time with dotted notes in the running. So again, quarter note gets the beat because the 4 is in the bottom. We have 3 beats per measure. So 2 8th notes together is 1 beat. 4 16th notes together is 2. And a quarter note by itself, 3. There's a measure. 2 8th notes is 1 beat. Half note 2 and 3. There's your measure here. I'll make that smaller. There we go. And then 1, 2, 3. There it is. And we have a dotted half note finally. Dotted half note is 2 beats plus half of 2, which is 1. That's 3. And there's our end. All right, let's take a look at this one. There are no dotted notes in that. That makes life easy. 4 beats per measure. Quarter note gets the beat. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 beats. Boom. 1, 2. Even though these are all beamed together, it's not 2 beams. It's just 1 still, so there's still 8th notes. 3 and 4. And there's our double bar line. All right, now finally we have this one here. 4 beats per measure. Quarter note gets a beat. Dotted half note. Remember, dotted half note gets 3 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, look at that. And 1, 2, plain old half note. 3, 4, another half note. Quarter note, 1, half note, 2 and 3. And 2 8th notes, 4. And then finally, whole note has 4 beats. And we're done. Now we're going to write our time signatures. We have a quarter note. There's 1. We have 2 8th notes, 2 8th notes, 3 beats. We can probably start to assume that's going to be 3 beats per measure. Let's double check. 1, 2, 3. Yep. 1, 2, and 3. Yep. And then dotted half note. Remember, is 3 beats. And 1, 2, 3. So we got 3 beats per measure. Quarter note is still getting the beat. Now let's take a look at this one. Ooh, this one can be tricky. We have two 16th notes here. Each of them is a fourth of a beat. A fourth plus a fourth is 2/4, which is the same as a half. Eighth note is a half a beat. A half plus a half, all together, that's one beat. Now we have our quarter note right here, beat 2. Here's the same thing, just reversed. We have an eighth note, same as here. We have two 16th notes, same as here. These all together was one beat. These together will also be one beat. They're just in a different order. 1 and 2. Looks like we got 2 beats in each measure. 2 beats, quarter note gets a beat. All right, looking at C here. Quarter note, 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Here's where it gets tricky. This is 3.5 beats. Or, 1.5 beats. So we have 4.5. We have another half. Could just take these two halves together and make that beat 5. And then 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. 4, 5, and 6. So that looks like 6 beats in a measure. Let's double check. Half note, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, 6 beat per measure. Quarter note gets the beat. All right, that is that page. And we're on the last page. We're going to count the beats in the phrase with rests. All right, now we got rests. Rests tell how long silences are in music. Each note has a rest which corresponds with it. So we have a whole note, 4 beats. We have a whole rest. I'm going to make that a little bigger so you can see it. Kind of looks like a hole in the ground. Huh, fancy that. Now we have a half note. We also have a half rest, and that looks like this. Looks like a hat. Whole note looks like a hole in the ground. Half note looks like a hat. We have a quarter note and a quarter rest. This one kind of looks like some weird zigzag lightning bolt, whatever. That's a quarter note rest. That's going to be the weirdest looking one and the only unique looking one. All the rest look pretty much similar to each other or have others that look like it. Now we're at eighth note rest, or eighth rest. It looks like a 7 with a wart on its nose, or a 7 with an Elvis haircut, whichever you prefer. I am impartial. That's an eighth rest. Now, just because, or just like an eighth note looks like that, and you can add a flag to make it a 16th, you can do the same with an eighth rest. We're just going to add another one of those things to make a 16th rest. Then we get smaller, you can just add as many of these as you need. All right. So here is your little cheat sheet up here. If you need to look at that while we go on to these. So we're going to draw some rests in the boxes so that both sides of the equations add to the same length of time. So we have a quarter note, that's 1 beat. We have a quarter rest, that's also 1 beat. Altogether, that's 2. All right, we need this side to equal 2. So we have a quarter note, which is 1 beat. We have something, don't know what it is, and then we have a half beat. Quarter note, or beat, plus a half, that's a beat and a half. When we get to 2 though, we just need another half. Eighth note is another half. And there we go. Oh, not note, we need a rest. Eighth rest. There we go. Eighth rest. And there the equation is complete. Now let's look at number 2. Dotted half note, 1, 2, 3. That's 3 beats. I'm just going to put a 3 here. 3 plus something plus something, we don't know, equals whatever. We'll figure that out. Quarter note is 1 beat. Here's our half note, or half rest, because it looks like a hat. 2 beats plus whatever this is, quarter note, 1 beat, plus 2 eighth notes together is 1 beat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. So we need 2 different types of rests that we can add to 3 in order to equal 5. Well, let's make life easy on us and just have them both equal 1 beat, because 3 plus 1 plus 1 is 5. If we look up here, which is our rest that has 1 beat? Quarter rest. And that looks like that. So we're going to do quarter rest, quarter rest. You can think of it as a Z with a C. Z, whoops, Z, C. That's how to draw it. If you do this, I'll usually be able to tell what that is. All right, number 3. We have an eighth note, which is a half. Quarter note's a half. Eighth rest is a half. Half plus 1 plus half is 2. Which rest equals 2 beats? Oh, that would be a half rest. Looks like a hat. Lovely top hat. Maybe give him a face. That looks awful. All right. Now we have quarter rest here on number 4. That equals just 1 beat. That's all I need to figure out. Now we have 3 16th notes and then a blank. How many 16th notes do you need to make 1 beat? Just 4. So we have 16th note, 16th note, 16th note. We need 16th something. This time we're going to do a rest because we're working on rests right now. There's our 16th rest. Now finally we need to figure out what goes here. Number 5. Here's a quarter note that's 1. All these 16th notes together is another beat. 1 plus, remember 2 16ths plus 8th. Quarter, quarter, half, all that together is going to be 1 beat. And then quarter note is 1 beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. We need to find something that equals 4 beats, and that is a whole rest. That looks like a hole in the ground. And we are done with the Basic Rhythms packet, Chapter 3. Yay! Hopefully this video comes out a lot better than the last one I tried, just recording myself on the whiteboard. If it doesn't, let me know and I will try to come up with some other ways to record videos. But I think this really helped, being able to draw directly on the screen with my fancy drawing tablet. Hope that helps. See you later.